Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, it's Spencer from nbsp.com. Welcome to another podcast episode. Today we're going to be doing a call for Niche Site Project 3. As Jake Parent and I have been discussing in the previous couple of episodes, we've picked our students for the Niche Site Project, and we've actually all gone through and done our first coaching call with our students. And so today's episode is actually going to be the coaching call that I did with Samara for Niche Site Project 3. So during this call, you're going to hear Samara and I were diving into the project, just going over some of the big picture goals and strategies for the project. And then we're also going to be talking about how to brainstorm for a niche. So we're not doing any keyword research per se, and we're not doing a lot of market research just yet, but we're going to be talking about brainstorming ideas, how to get these broad ideas, where to look to come up with these ideas that you can then start to narrow down and niche down, if you will, to decide, is this a good niche? Is this a good market that we should actually go in and build a site on? So that's the first coaching call, big picture coaching call between Samara and I. And then, of course, we're going to be doing all the other coaching calls as well, but we're going to do Jake's and Perrin's separately on their own podcast episodes as well so that you can hear those. So hopefully today you enjoy the first coaching call between Samara and I. Thanks a lot. So Samara, how you doing?
I'm okay. Thanks. How are you, Spencer?
Very good. We just did a quick talk here for about 2 minutes, just do a quick intro, but now everybody's listening into our call. And we're going to just figure out how to actually build out a niche site. You were obviously the student picked by the audience as one of the Niche Site Project 3 students, and I think they chose wisely. We're going to find out, I guess, anyways, right? I mean, I think your video was awesome, and maybe we'll start there before we jump into how we build out a niche site. How did you get those custom T-shirts made so quick?
You know, I thought it was a funny idea, and I just ran with it. I went running around the neighborhood looking for all the equipment I needed, and I just had the idea, and I found a place to customize the T-shirt and the onesie, and I had a photo shoot with my daughter, and when I got the photos developed, so all in a day's work.
That is so cool. I mean, that's a lot of work to put into a 3-minute video, right? For something that you didn't know whether or not it would work out. So,
well, it depends how bad you want it, right?
Yep, absolutely. So I think you proved that you wanted it. You're ready to do this. I'm excited to go out and do another public niche site project. I think the last couple went really well. Obviously, Perrin was in the last one. He built out a great site, and I've been working with him now for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. The bar is high, for sure.
The bar is set high. So let's, before we get into kind of the nitty gritty, this call today is really just an introduction call. I just want to establish maybe some overall goals and some big picture strategies that we're going to follow. So it's not going to be super intense, not a lot of specific strategies per se, but I want to just get us both on the same page for what we're trying to get out of this project.
Okay.
All right. And so before we do that, maybe you can explain briefly some of your background as far as building websites. I know you said you've built out an Amazon FBA product. How many websites have you built?
Let's see. Very few. I was inspired by you a couple years ago, and I tried to build this niche site, which I mentioned in my video, and that was kind of a disaster. I didn't find WordPress to be super intuitive, so everything was an uphill battle. Like the learning curve was just tremendous. Everything took forever to kind of figure out. But I was able to kind of create this website. I figured out how to upload a bunch of links to Amazon products. I had this Amazon affiliate account. But because I didn't sell anything in 6 months, they shut me down. So that was, I guess, my first experience.
Ouch.
Yeah. I wept. It was very, very sad. It was a bad thing. And then, so I built a second site on Shopify. Well, built, right? It's kind of, you just plug stuff in, but I have that e-commerce thing going on, and that went a little bit better. It's a little bit easier once you have a little bit of experience. And, that's also going pretty badly. There's no traffic, no visitors. I'm not really sure. There's some things I get, but then I kind of get lost. I don't know how to drive the traffic. I don't know how to create the content. It's my main problem. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm on Amazon with my FBA product. Also, I think a bad choice. I chose a bad product. And there's an enormous learning curve with that. But I don't have a website specifically for that. I'm going through Amazon, and I'm desperate to sell my product and get rid of it and never see it again. So that's where I am.
You're getting sick of the Amazon product at this point. I
am. It's not going well. It's not going well.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully we can fix some of those issues that you've had with your past projects. I think that's the whole goal here, is to make sure that you get started from day one on the right path, mm-hmm. right? Because I know I've sort of beat this drum so many times throughout the years that so much of the ball game is won by picking the right niche and picking mm-hmm. the right keywords. It's so vitally important, because if you get started down the wrong path, it's hard to make a correction. It's so difficult. It's not impossible, but it's so difficult to then, if your niche isn't making money, how do you fix that? And how do you turn that into something that is making money? It's just so much easier if you do it right from day one. So, we could potentially go into your existing projects that you have and try and tweak those and make them work. But I think we both agree, let's just start from scratch here and see what we can do with a new project altogether.
Sounds great. Yeah, I think what you say about finding your niche is super important. And then if you find something you're not really sure how it's going to go, and then you invest all this time and money, and it's like a black hole. And then, it's a disaster. So I'm super excited to learn the right way to find a niche.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can do that here. So we are kind of flying by the seat of our pants. We don't have an official agenda or schedule. And I feel like people probably want to know you personally, at least a little bit. I mean, people know me a little bit because I've been blogging for a long time. Of course, I'm married, have 4 kids, and they keep me super busy. And I run my business out of my home. And so there's a lot of challenges that come with that, of course, having family around, and like right now, they're home. I hope that they stay quiet. But if you hear babies crying, that's just comes with the territory. So I've been running my business full time for about 5 years. Of course, started out building niche sites. That's what made me my first real money online. And now I've done other things, built out software products and that sort of thing. But what about you? Maybe you can give everybody listening just a really brief sort of intro, who you are and that sort of thing.
Sure. I'm from New York, from Poughkeepsie, New York, and I came to Madrid, Spain in 2000, basically with a one-way ticket and a suitcase, and just thought I'd take some time off after I finished college and before I had to actually get serious and start living life. And I just came out for a year or two, but I started to learn Spanish and I started to make friends and I found a job, and then it just got harder and harder. And so now it's been 15 years. And now I live out here with my daughter, Skylar, who you met in the video, and my boyfriend and our dog. And I work in translation. I've been in translation for like 9 years, maybe. I don't feel especially passionate about it. It's not really exciting. And I'm looking to do something different. I'm looking to change. And actually, I just took a leave of absence from my job, starting December 1st for 7 months. So I have no real job at the moment. I'm freelancing, doing editing and writing and translating as a freelancer, but otherwise hoping to dedicate myself to this project and spend time with my daughter, who's 5 months old only. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So if you hear babies crying here too, then that's also a possibility.
Yeah, no problem there. I mean, I hardly even hear the babies crying anymore. I just learned to tune them out. So if that happens,
Nice.
no problem. I'm used to it now. So,
Okay.
no, that's very cool. So translation. So, languages, is that
Yes. Yeah.
English and Spanish and Portuguese, or?
Oh no, just Spanish and English. That's enough for me.
Yeah. Very cool. So you're doing a little bit of freelancing, still doing the translation, writing.
Yep.
And I did not know that you have taken a leave of absence. And so you've got some time to dedicate to this project.
Yes, it's actually a fantastic coincidence.
Yes.
This all occurred like this. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Very cool. So let's jump into it. So let's talk about some of the goals overall for this project. Maybe I'll ask you what your goals are for the project, because that could be a little bit different than maybe what I'm thinking in my head. But what do you hope to get out of this project?
Well, I hope to learn all of the steps to creating a successful niche site and be able to replicate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Be able to do it, on my own and know what kinds of things I can experiment with to kind of play around with it, where there's kind of things that have to be done as they are and things where you can kind of take a bit of freedom and do your own thing. So I'd really like to learn how to replicate it. And I'd love to make another, to have like an income stream. That would be amazing. That would be very cool. And, show everyone that, even if they've tried and failed, that you can pick yourself back up and do it again, and that, it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, we all do have those extra income stream type goals. I think that's where everybody comes in it. That's what first attracts people. But being able to have a system, like you mentioned, to be able to replicate the process, not just once, but depending on how many times you need to, 2 or 3 times, maybe that's all you need to do to have a very successful business. But I think that is important, that hopefully that is a big, huge goal of this project, is to be able to teach those steps that other people can implement into their own business to, build a niche site from scratch. And so certainly, hopefully we can get that, you on that path to being able to do that, but hopefully others listening in as well. As far as just a hard number that we can focus on, $500 in a month is sort of the goal for the project overall, to say, this is what we're shooting for, or at least, what I would like us to shoot for is, let's get a site up and running. And once it's hit $500 a month, that sort of is like success for us. That's what I would like us to define as success. Certainly we'd like to build it bigger and grow it over time, and it'd be great if it could be much, much larger. But if we can get you a site earning $500 a month, that would be awesome.
I agree. Can I just say what would also be really interesting to me is, yes. I don't just want to learn the steps. I kind of want to understand why you're doing these things, right? Yes. So I want to understand, content should look like this, or what's the anatomy of the right kind of content, and why should it be like that? And why do you backlink like this? And I'd like to understand the why, right? So it's not just kind of plugging in the next steps and this is the process. It's kind of getting an overall understanding of why you're doing things, which I think is important too.
I think that's vitally important. And in fact, I think that goes to the heart of the matter of why a lot of people maybe aren't as successful at building out niche sites, is because they do look for an exact process. And so a lot of people listening in here are maybe waiting for me to give those 10 steps, that if you just follow these 10 steps, you're going to build out a great site. And there really is no magic formula. I think it does come down to exactly what you said, is understanding the why behind this entire process. Because in every niche, in every market, and every site that you build, the steps might be slightly different. You have to be able to kind of think on your feet. And if you understand the process, you can implement the strategies that work best in your particular market or your particular situation. And so I think that's spot on. So please, if there's some step that we try to implement that you don't understand exactly why, let's try to get to the heart of the matter and figure it out.
Great. Sounds good.
Awesome. So I think that's good for goals, about $500 a month, understanding the process. I don't have an exact time frame. I know in previous project, at least the second niche site project I did, I wanted to be earning, $500 a month after 6 months. That may or may not be the right time frame for us. It's hard to set that, certainly within 12 months, right?
Okay.
But so I think somewhere between 6 and 12 months is a realistic time frame for when we can accomplish this. And I say that just because Google has changed a little bit. Newer sites do take a little bit longer now to rank. And so if somebody out there is expecting to earn $500 a month after 3 or 4 months, it's probably not a realistic goal to set anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is going to be 6, 7, 8 months of, effort and work, probably before we get a lot of really great traction. And, so that's important to realize, I think, here. Okay. So let's talk about an overall strategy, sort of big picture strategy for actually finding a market, finding a niche that we want to go into. All right. So the entire point of a niche site or definition of a niche site is something that is laser focused and is very targeted towards one niche or one market. Okay. That's what the opposing view there is, somebody that builds a generalist site that just says, I'm going to build a site, I'd call it whatever you want, some general site that they cover every topic under the sun and they research keywords no matter what the market is, whether that's politics or products or you name it, right? They have it on their site. So that is the definition of a niche site, is that it's very laser focused on one market, one particular audience, right? And that's where we focus all of our research and we try to dominate in that niche. I will say that niche doesn't necessarily mean small. It doesn't mean we're going to build a 10-page website and call it good, right? Mm-hmm. Back in the day, I did build small niche websites, but I guess now we're building large niche websites. So, if we pick the market of survival knives, like I have done previously, I wrote 150 articles or something like that, right? I mean, we're going to build a large website, but it's going to be focused on one particular niche. Okay. So the question now is, well, how do we find that market? How do we pick that market? That's the $1 million question, right?
Absolutely.
So there's lots of different ways to go about that, and this is going to be your assignment, I guess, today, after this call for the next few days or week. I want you to brainstorm ideas for markets, for niches that you could go into. Okay. And so there's a few different strategies of how you might be able to do that. Okay. The first strategy is looking at your own interests or hobbies that you have. And maybe let's talk about that just a little bit. Are there any interests or hobbies that you have? I mean, what are a couple that you have that we don't have to necessarily say this will be a great site, but let's just sort of throw a couple out there so people know what we're talking about.
Let's see. Interests. I'm currently interested in anything baby related, right? Yep. So I don't know if that's a possibility or if that's too broad, or you could say, do I need to say like baby blankets, or, do I have to say something specific, or?
Not necessarily. Baby related, it could certainly be a possibility. I might have to think about that to, think about, okay, well, is it, do we also talk about pregnancy, or is it just, do we want to just talk about babies that are under a year old, right? Or there's maybe some different ways that we can tackle that, but that's good enough for now, right? For a brainstorm. So some baby related stuff.
Baby related. I love to cook. So kind of anything food related. I like to make kind of Thai food or Chinese food or Mexican food. So I'm interested in that. It's an interest of mine. I go running. I don't run marathons like yourself. But I definitely like to run. I like step aerobics. I'm interested in, I'm interested in sewing. I wish I knew how to like make my own clothes. I think that might be cool.
And I'm just typing these down as we go.
Okay. I'm interested in gardening. I live in the city, so it's not something I dabble in or anything, but that's interesting to me. Travel. I love to travel. These kinds of things.
Yeah. Lots of great interests.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Gardening. I know that sort of city gardening, what do they call it? Square foot gardening or something like that is sort of a hot topic. I've seen some interesting websites on that. So that's kind of interesting. And again, we're not going to pick anything today. We're just going to get the juices flowing a little bit here.
Okay.
So another place, you don't have to build a site that you per se are passionate about, right? So you don't necessarily have to create a website on something that you do, cooking, for example.
Okay.
You can also, there's two sort of prongs to this. It's so important that you at least have some interest in the site, right? In the topic. I think that is important. But you don't run marathons, but potentially you could create a website about running marathons just because, you might have some interest there, right? As an example. But you can, the other prong is we need to pick a market that has money. Right. That people are either spending money or advertisers are, spending money to put advertising up for, or there's products, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Right. So
that makes sense. Okay.
Right. So even though I'm going to just throw this out there. I mean, I haven't done any research, but let's say, you're passionate about cooking but there's really not that much money there. It's hard to monetize that. Right. Okay. So even if you had a huge website with tons of traffic, maybe there's not a lot of money in recipes and that sort of thing. Right. So it's a fine balance.
Okay.
Right. So you want to find something you're at least a little bit interested in, but you certainly want to make sure there's money being spent in the market. The other place that you can look to start brainstorming, I'm going to throw out a few ideas here, is finding out what other people's hobbies are as well.
Okay.
Okay. And so if you just do a quick Google search, and I'm doing this on I should share my screen is what I should do. That would...
Here's an idea.
That would be a great idea, wouldn't it? So I just did, I typed in list of hobbies, right? So you can go to, there's Wikipedia. We'll just go to Wikipedia here real quick. And I mean, this will just really and their Wikipedia is looking for money there. So here's a huge list they have indoor and outdoor hobbies, right? So we've got 3D printing, amateur radio, home brewing, gunsmithing, glass blowing, quilting, reading, scrapbooking, outdoor hobbies, jogging, kayaking, kite flying, collection hobbies. There's hundreds, right?
Right.
So this is just a great way. You could read through this and go, I am a little bit interested in surfing. That might be interesting to do something surfing related, right?
Okay. So that sounds like a gold mine of ideas. For sure.
Yes, huge gold mine. This is where I got my survival knife ideas. I originally started with looking at lists of hobbies and doing some additional research after that. But definitely look at what other people are interested in.
Okay.
So start there. The other thing that we can do to look at specifically things that we know there's money in the market is to look at products that are being sold. All right. So I guess the assignment is get at least a few ideas from your own interests. Okay.
Okay.
And then get a few ideas from other people's interests, like this list on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And then we're going to get a few ideas from actual products on like Amazon or eBay. There's a few different ways that you can do this. Of course, if you go to Amazon, you can, /bestseller or something like that. If you go to amazon.com/bestsellers, that's, you can see the hot products that are out there.
Okay.
And really you can just click on any category. Again, it's just a brainstorm to help you kind of get outside of your own head and think of things that you wouldn't think of otherwise. Okay, so you can just click on some of these things. You've got these thermometers for barbecue. You've got, all sorts of things. Barbecue grill, gloves. You've got some patio furniture. You've got some pulled pork shredder claws. And when you go through these, you don't necessarily have to say, okay, I'm going to build a whole website on pulled pork shredder claws, right? You might come in here and just write down barbecue tools or, grilling. Or
I don't have to love shredding pork to actually pick that product.
Right. This is just kind of start us thinking about markets, right? So we know that there's a lot of products being sold in the barbecue grill market, right? And so, anyway, so does that make sense? Does that give you enough there to start kind of brainstorming based on Amazon?
Right, yes. And the same thing with eBay, you say?
And you can do the same thing on eBay. Yep. You can go over to eBay and you don't have to look at bestsellers, right? You could just come in here and click on anything. And I like to do this because a lot of times some of the best niches I go into are things that I never would have thought of on my own, right?
Okay.
Or just, it kind of, like I said, gets you out of your own head, makes you think of markets that you totally wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Okay.
So do that. Let's see. Boy, I mean, there really are a lot of other places that you could go to look at that. And I've written about this. So if you just go to how to brainstorm niche ideas, and of course, Niche Pursuits is right here. I've written 2 articles here, number 2 and number 3. And yes, they were written, one in 2011 and one in 2013, but they're still very relevant, right? This is just brainstorm tactics. So after our call, maybe read through those.
Okay.
And if there's any other ideas, like in this one, I wrote down 15 different ideas, watching TV, going shopping, walking around Walmart. You look on the shelf and you see something interesting, write that down. You can look at Google Trends.
Okay.
Lots of different ideas, right? Okay. Reading forums is a good one. I think the goal, I'd like you to have maybe a list of 15 to 20 potential markets.
Okay.
That you could go into. So the next time we talk, we can start whittling that down.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain how to do that. So I'm just trying to think. I mean, there's a lot that, of course I explain each of these ideas, but I think that's good enough. I mean, that's plenty to allow you to brainstorm quite a few different ideas.
Okay. Should I kind of consider whether they're commercial enough or if there's money in these niches, or am I just brainstorming whatever I can and then we'll take a look at those?
Yeah, I think for now, let's just brainstorm any idea. Don't worry about the commercial value too much. Okay. And so you might come up with a lot more than 15 to 20 ideas. Don't be I think I wrote down, just talking about your own interests and hobbies, I wrote down, 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah, I suspect I'll have more than 15 or 20.
Yep. So don't be afraid to come back with a huge list. Okay. And then I think that makes sense. I think that'll be good on a call for us to actually do it together so people understand why we're eliminating ideas. And looking at what good ideas are. And if you want to get ahead, I mean, sort of the next steps after this, I mean, if there's a few markets that you feel like, what, I think this is the one, and you want to, jump ahead, sort of the next step is to figure out if it is commercial, and you can do that within Longtail Pro. I mean, overall, what I want to find once I have an overall market is, are there a decent amount, so let's say 20 to 30 great keywords that are low competition in that market that I think would be worth targeting. And of course, that will be a whole other call and discussion. Okay. But if you want to start dabbling around with Longtail Pro, so if you, let's pick one of your interests. So, gardening or city gardening. I don't know what it's called, but, let's say city gardening is a thing. You could punch that into Longtail Pro and figure out, by looking at the keyword competition, are there 20 to 30 decent keywords here that, have some commercial value and might be worth targeting?
Okay. Well, I mean, what would be, what defines a decent keyword? Like what am I looking for?
Yes. And we will do a whole call on that. Okay. Right. But initially to be honest, I'm not worried about search volume. And that is a slight shift from the way I used to do things. I used to always say, only look at keywords that got 1,000 searches or more per month. But now, if it gets any searches per month, even 10, right? That is a keyword that we could potentially target.
Wow. 10 whole searches a month.
Yes. And the reason I say that is because I've now had enough experiences to sort of broaden my view, right? Because I wish I had an exact example, but let's just imagine there is a keyword that gets searched for, 10 times a month. That exact keyword only gets searched for 10 times a month, but there might be 100 variations, plurals, or a keyword string that's 5 or 6 words long that essentially means the exact same thing, but it's different. Does that make sense? Right. Yeah. And so there might actually be 100 keywords that you end up ranking for with just your one article. And all of those combined very, very often end up having a lot of traffic. So I do have a website where I'm targeting a keyword that only gets searched for 70 times per month, but it gets something like 200 visitors a day, that one article. And it's because of all the different variations. When people type things into Google, there's no rules. They type in whatever they want. And so they end up typing lots of variations that my article ranks number 1 for.
How interesting. And your article that's ranking for all these other keywords, is that intentional on your part, or is that kind of accidental? Because you've written your article and it happens that there are words in there that people are looking for.
Well, it's partly intentional and partly just by happenstance. Partly I do know that by including the exact long tail keyword in the title of my article, I'm going to rank for that one plus a lot of variations, plurals and ones that might have one different word inserted, that sort of thing, right? So I kind of know that's going to happen, but the happenstance is that there is just a lot more queries going on than I realized. For that keyword phrase or variations of that keyword phrase. And then, yes, as you mentioned in the article, there are just, perhaps a few other keywords that I mentioned that I wasn't really planning on, and I just happen to rank for those as well. Okay. So I'm not interested in search volume so much in this initial sort of round here, right? So search volume doesn't matter. To determine commercial intent, you can look at the CPC. So usually something that has 50 cents or more cost per click, there's advertisers there. Spending some money is usually a good sign. And then there is another column within Longtail Pro that shows it says advertiser competition, and it can be low, medium, or high. I like to see medium or high in that column. So it's not necessarily your assignment this week to be looking at lots of keywords because, like I said, we're going to talk about that a lot. But if you, after making your brainstorm list and there's a few that you're interested in, you can do some initial keyword research. Just to start looking at that. So I do want to mention, I think you already said that you have access to Longtail Platinum, right?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure that you did have access to that. And then Longtail University, you also have access to?
I do.
Okay. So there are a couple of videos in there for brainstorming and picking keywords that you can review again if you'd like to do that as well.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good.
So I'm just trying to think. I think for the initial call, I think that's good. I just wanted to sort of establish the overall strategy or the overall goals that we have, and then just some initial brainstorming.
Okay, sounds great.
So any initial questions on what we've covered so far?
Not at the moment. I'm the kind of person where as soon as we hang up, I'll think, I have these 5,000 questions. So I'll just jot them down maybe and ask you next time, or?
No, yeah. I mean, you feel free to Skype me or email me any additional questions. And so we can sort of have the ball rolling continuously here, but maybe on our next call, we'll give an overview of any questions that you had. And so everybody's up to date.
Perfect.
But, feel free to ask me along the way, and we'll just make sure everybody is aware of what you've asked so they can follow along as well.
Okay.
So,
excellent. All right.
Cool. Well, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good project.
Me too. Definitely. Okay.
So, sound good? Anything else you wanted to cover, or is that you think you got enough to go on at least for now?
I think I have enough to go on for now.
Okay.
When shall we meet again?
I'm thinking that we'll do weekly calls officially.
Okay.
So once a week for now, we'll do official calls. So I might have to look at my calendar here, but
yeah, we're right into the holidays, so
yeah.
I'm around. So whatever works for you.
Yeah, let me shoot you an email or a Skype message, and we'll get on the schedule for us hopefully early next week.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, cool. Thank you, Samara, very much for joining us on Niche Site Project 3.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Very excited.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right. Hey, thanks a lot.